welcome back everybody to a special episode of New York State of Sports here on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all that is sports. Ricky K here with you today, episode 59, and there's just been so much going on in New York sports. We thought we need to give you two shows. We'll start with the Jets firing Robert Saleh. The shock of it all, he's the blame for it all, he's behind it all. Can the season really be saved? We'd say that about a month ago. We'll look ahead to Game 4 later tonight at Citi Field. We'll look at the Walker crowd yesterday. The Mets won 7-2 coming out of it. Fantastic. Yankees are in Kansas City for a pivotal Game 3. When they finally get Hitchens in scoring position. And here's Aaron Judge. Maybe he's not so lucky according to Jeff. We'll dive into all that. And of course the Rangers start action tonight in Pittsburgh with the big news there. Report from former NHL goalie and NHL for ESPN analyst Kevin Weeks that Igor turned down an 8-year, $88 million extension. What does it mean? The Rangers salvage negotiations? Or should they go with this direction? Live with all that coming up on the pre-game episode of New York State Sports. See it. And of course, welcome back to New York State of Sports, IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all that is sports. Ricky K here with you again, special episode. Reason behind this is, look, there's been so much going on in New York sports that I wanted to bring you two shows this week because going through all these things, we got the Liberty and the WNBA finals that start Thursday night at Barclays against the Lynx, but we'll wait till Monday to talk about that. And we got so many teams in the postseason that I wanted to bring you an extra episode. And then when Robert Saleh was announced Tuesday morning that he was getting fired, I was like, I got to do another show. So we're going to do a quick one for you today. Of course, follow us, X, IG, Facebook, TikTok at IE Sports Radio. You missed any portion of the show or you just want to go back and hear me again, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Spotify, all those fun places to get your podcasts. Go to our show page, which every show has a page on iesportsradio.com. You see the page here if you're listening here on YouTube. If not, it's iesportsradio.com/New York State of Sports. You can follow me on X at Rickinator555 or follow the show at NY State Sports IE. So we're going to talk all things Jets and Mets in our first segment because usually here in New York, if you're a Jet fan, you're usually a Met fan. Giant fan, Yankee fan, Ranger fan. Usually it kind of blends hand in hand if you're not familiar with the New York area. But we're going to hear a quick word from our sponsors. We'll come back and we'll talk all things Jets and the whole Robert Saleh situation. You're listening to New York State of Sports and IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all this sports. We'll be back in just a minute.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And of course, thanks to the folks here at Plant Jerky, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, and Larry B., you're the founder of IE Sports Radio. Let's get into the Jets here. Ricky K. back with you here at New York State Sports. And of course, the big news from yesterday around 10 a.m. Jets firing Robert Saleh and Woody Johnson, or as he likes to be known as Ambassador Johnson, because in Donald Trump's administration, he was the ambassador to the United Kingdom. This move was shocking. And not shocking because, look, I could go through Robert Saleh's head coaching career, 20-36, not necessarily great. But I can also look at a couple of things. Number one, this guy somehow got the Jets to 7 wins last year with no quarterback. So there's got to be some element that the guy can actually coach. Is he a great coach? Probably not. But I don't think he's necessarily to blame. And if he is necessarily to blame, what's the rush to judgment now? And if Woody Johnson was never sold on Robert Saleh, he should not have come back to begin the year, period. Like, to me, that's the easy decision to make. But as we dive into really who's to blame in all this mess, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is going to tell you that he had no involvement. Woody Johnson and Aaron Rodgers supposedly met the night before, but didn't talk about this situation, which is really hard to believe. But take from it what you will. On all accounts, it sounded like Robert Saleh was going to not fire offensive coordinator Nate Hackett, but give play calling to Todd Downing, who is the passing game coordinator with the Jets. Because let's be honest, the offense is a mess. People overhyped the performance against the Patriots 2 weeks ago, and as you clearly see, we talked about it on Monday. The Patriots are a bad football team. So people took way too much from that game. Instead, you got to focus on the Denver game where they were awful. And I know it was raining, but it wasn't torrential rain. You should be able to score more than 9 points. And then even in London. But they didn't get blown out in London. Remember, the Vikings led 17-0, and the Jets had a chance at the end of the game to win. So it's not like they embarrassed themselves. It's a Viking team that right now is one of 2 undefeated teams in the NFL. So I don't get where the panic button had to get pushed by Woody Johnson here at 2-3. And here's the problem. The easy situation is for the Jets to have gotten rid of Nathaniel Hackett. There was talk about it in the offseason. There was talk about it throughout this season. And between all the shock in the organization that this happened, there's clearly a disconnect between the two units, offense and defense. And it's been that way since last year when Zach Wilson was the quarterback. Your problem is Nate Hackett is Aaron Rodgers' guy. And this organization is going to do everything they can to please Aaron Rodgers, whether that's trying to trade for Devontae Adams, whether it's trying to bring in Allen Lazard, whether it's bringing in his old offensive coordinator from Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers runs this team. Period. You might as well have made him the player coach. But he's going to want no part in this because publicly he's not going to say, hey, I run the show here. You're not going to get that. But everything at this point, from this point forward, is on him. Because Jeff Ulbrich is, from all accounts, a guy that can get the players motivated, a guy that can really provide a spark. I don't know how good he can coach. He coached the Senior Bowl a little bit this year. I mean, the defense was never the weak point for the Jets, but again, you're bringing in a defensive coach, albeit on an interim basis. How's the offense getting fixed? How is Breece Hall getting more involved? How is Braylon Allen getting more involved? What happened to the running attack that essentially beat the Titans in week 2? They haven't really won games because of Aaron Rodgers. Like, he hasn't been the sole reason they're winning. Now, he's been a part of it. This guy isn't the same player he used to be anymore. He's still good. I still think he could be a player that can help you, but he's not great. So the question to Woody and to me, to Mr. Johnson, is why panic now? Teams that make these kind of moves don't make the playoffs. I mean, the one exception was when John Gruden got let go for all those letters, and they brought in Rich Bisaccia, and they made the playoffs. But you rarely ever see this. It shows the Jets right now are a dysfunctional organization. Because I could easily have seen this. Why do this now? If they had lost Monday to Buffalo, and then they play Pittsburgh 6 days later and they lose again, and they're 2-5, you have every right to make this move because you have no other buttons to push. Why couldn't you let Saleh make the changes he needed to make offensively, change the play calling up, and see if it works? Why is that? No, let you go. And then to go into their there's a report that Woody Johnson called the coaches into the office and said that the game in London is a must win. Well, this is a selfish thing by Woody Johnson because, again, we talked about his ambassadorship to the United Kingdom. Of course, it had to be the London game that was a must win. It's week 5. There are no must wins. Especially when you look at the AFC East. And again, as bad as the Jets have been the last 2 weeks, if they beat the Bills on Monday, they are in the lead in the AFC East. I don't care if this is the best talent they've had in 25 years. If Robert Saleh was never the guy, he should have never been brought back to coach in the first place. You didn't need 5 games to tell you that. Where their losses, again, are to a 5-0 Viking team, a Niner team that right now is 2-3, but for the most part was healthy week 1 and was in the Super Bowl a year ago. The only inexcusable loss, I would say, is the Denver game. Because Bo Nix at home, you should win that game. But remind me where the Jets were supposed to be at this point, because I'm not so sure. So again, I think they got the wrong decision here, but Hackett's never going to be the problem, never going to go. And look, you're saying that Hackett was an awful coach in Denver, and what has he really done to bring anything creative to the Jets offense? This offense is stale. It doesn't work. And as Devontae Adams, as we talked about Monday, does it fix everything? I'm not so sure if it does, to be honest. Does it come at the cost of getting rid of Allen Lazard? Does it come at the cost of getting rid of Mike Williams? Does it get Tyler Conklin more involved? Like, what does it really do? You have to try to get Devontae Adams now because everyone's saying, well, does firing Saleh change getting Devontae Adams? No, it just means they're going to really try to get him. Because who's calling the shots? It's Rodgers. And again, he's going to be on Pat McAfee in about half an hour. You're not going to hear him admit that because it'd be crazy to. But as you thought the Jets would turn in the right direction, of course Rodgers is going to win out. Every player in that locker room loves working with him. There are guys that are young enough that have watched him when they were kids. So he's going to win out at anything at the end of the day. It's not going to be about the coach. So the question is, who would you bring in next year to coach? Does Olbrich do enough to win this job? I think the Bill Belichick idea is ridiculous. I don't think Bill Belichick is not going to coach for Woody Johnson, regardless of how much money they throw at him. If he was going to remember when Woody bought the Jets, that's when Bill Belichick didn't want to coach the Jets. You're never going to see that. Now, there's guys out there. I mean, obviously, it's going to look like Texans offense coordinator Bobby Slowick, Todd Monken. There's a lot of guys you could get and the job, depending on what Rodgers is here or not. If he's not here after next year, then you're resetting and maybe the job becomes more appealing because right now it's going to be really who Aaron Rodgers picks. Did you upset the apple cart? It's kind of like what LeBron does. And the Jets sold their soul to make this move. Now they're living in it. They're living it. They have nobody to blame but themselves. So to sum it up, I feel bad for Robert Saleh, and he sent out a really nice, heartfelt statement to Jet fans. I think this move was way too premature. I think they could have waited a little bit to make this move because you rarely see in coaching moves, and this is the first time in 25 years that Woody Johnson has fired a coach in midseason. And it's not even midseason. It's like the first quarter point. So it's a panic move. It's a panic move trying to save face, and to me, it doesn't really jive. Trying to get a spark, but where's the spark needed? You just need to fix your offense. The defense was fine. So to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but we'll see how the Jets respond on Monday, and we'll talk more about that game on Monday's show because it's a huge one against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Let's talk about the Mets, though. One win away from going back to the NLCS for the first time since 2015. Yesterday was crazy. My mother and my brother went to the game. They sent me videos. The crowd was nuts. So Met fans did a fantastic job getting out to the ballpark at 5 o'clock. Do the same thing again today. But you had Pete Alonso hits his third home run of the postseason off of Nola. Jesse Waker goes into the Coca-Cola porch, crushes a home run. You get the big base hit by Marte in the sixth to make it 4-0. And I thought Sean Manaea was incredible. He had a rough start early, and of course, if you read on, he found out he lost his aunt before the game. And he was in a lot of trouble in the sixth, 2 on, nobody out. He got Bryce Harper, strikeout in 3 pitches, including using a changeup. And as I wrote on Metsmerized, according to Tim Britton of The Athletic, Sean Manaea only threw left-on-left changeups once, and he threw it to Harper. So, and then he gets Castellanos to line into the double play to end the inning. Sean Manaea has been a revelation for the Mets. He's thrown his most innings he's ever had in his career, over 180 innings. He has an opt-out at the end of the year that he's going to exercise and he's going to make money. But give David Stearns a pat on the back. And for Manaea to go 7 innings, even pitch into the 8th yesterday, the Met bullpen is in a great position today because they can go a bunch of different moves. They're not playing for desperation today. They could use David Peterson in the bullpen knowing, hey, if I have to go back for game 5, I'll start Senga and I'll have Severino available. So they have options. They don't have to use Edwin Diaz for 9 outs today. Be great. The goal will be, and we'll dive into the pitching matchup in a minute. Jose Quintana goes deep in the game again. You only use Diaz for 6 outs. You really only use Maton and Stanek yesterday. So they're in a really good spot. The Phillies, meanwhile, have to really empty their bullpen for an elimination game. Now, they can do that knowing Zach Wheeler is in game 5 if they win today. But they will have to push the panic button more so than ever before. Ralph is also here in the chat. Woody Johnson has no clue how to run an organization. Aaron Rodgers is running the team. And Ralph saying, let's go Mets. My son, nephews, and girlfriend just left to go to the game today. Should be a fun one. So let's dive into the matchup again. 508 FS1. All 4 series are today. All 4 series were tied 1-1 for the first time in playoff history. Baseball loves that for sure. So it's Ranger Suarez against Jose Quintana. One thing to look at, Ranger Suarez, who was probably the Cy Young candidate, the front runner the first 2 months, then he got injured. His command's been off lately. He has had 12 walks over his last 5 starts. And you know this Met team right now, if they're getting people on, they're going to drive them in. When you've got Vientos clicking and Nimmo clicking, Alonso's clicking, Iglesias is having a good run. Iglesias is actually really good against Suarez, 6 for 8 with 2 doubles lifetime. So that's a guy to expect Carlos Mendoza to put at the top of the lineup today, maybe behind Lindor, try to spark something in the first inning. And as I mentioned earlier, expect a long look at the Phillies bullpen. Ranger Suarez has pitched in the playoffs before. He's been pretty good. If there's one thing to look at, though, he never goes past 5 innings. So unless he's got a really low pitch count today, he's only going 5 innings. So the Mets will maybe see him twice as a lineup, and we'll see how that works. But I don't expect much. I don't expect Ranger Suarez to go out there and dominate this lineup. I think the Mets will have their chances, and we'll see if they capitalize on them. As for Jose Quintana, he has been dominant over the last month. He has gone at least 6 innings in 4 of his last 5 starts. He has been throwing scoreless outings left and right, including against the Phillies back on September 13th, when he threw 7 scoreless innings. I think he struck out 9 in that game as well. He has been – that's another guy who has kind of found it, because I was even wanting to say, hey, put David Peterson in the rotation in the playoffs because of Quintana. Against the Brewers in Game 3, 6 innings, 4 hits, a walk, 5 strikeouts. Quintana has 28 strikeouts over his last 5 starts. So he has been pretty solid. The key, I think, here is you got a lefty here on the mound, and Quintana's done a good job against Harper. Harper's 4 for 21 with a home run, but 8 strikeouts. Castellanos sits 245, 53 at-bats. He has 10 strikeouts. Schwarber's got a home run against them. Real Muto's got a home run against them. Turner's 6 for 24, so not great numbers there. So can Quintana have that same success that Minaya had yesterday? We will see. But again, the bullpen usage is going to be interesting, because how quick do the Phillies go to Hoffman and Strahm and Estes? The Mets hit Strahm each of the first 2 games. So who do the Phillies deploy in this situation? Do you see a Zach Wheeler in this game if the Phillies get down, knowing that their season's on the line? That would put Christopher Sanchez in a possible Game 5 situation. And Sanchez is good at home, so the Phillies can kind of do that. So if I'm Mendoza, as much as I want to win this game, I don't need to empty the kitchen sink. If I get down, I'm going to try to play for maximum Game 5 usage. But the Mets, I think, want to close this out. They've not closed out a series at Citi Field in its short history. A lot of their series wins go back to 15. They beat the Dodgers on the road, and they beat the Cubs on the road. So that, to me, is going to be the real interesting point in how this gets decided. I didn't Mets get it done today, because I think they right now have all the momentum. They know they can beat the Phillies. We've seen it. When they went to Philly early in September, the bullpen blew the bulk of the games. They could have won that series. They took 3 of 4 a couple weeks ago at Citi Field, and now they've taken 2 of 3 and really could have swept this series. There's a mojo right now that they just have, that they're a team of destiny. Right now, you look at the National League, Padres win tonight and the Mets win today, the top 2 seeds are out. And the Mets would play San Diego in a rematch of the wild card from 2 years ago, and Joe Musgrove isn't there. Padres are starting Dylan Cease on 3 days rest night, try to close that out. Tell me the Mets aren't afraid to go to San Diego, because they shouldn't be. The Mets were really good in San Diego back in August. They're not afraid of anybody. The vibe is there right now. Mendoza's doing things. He's trusting his starters to go deep. And that's the benefit. You look at Mendoza trusting his starters, every other team is going right to their bullpen the second they can. Just look at the Yankees, and we'll talk about them in a minute. they're using every pitcher possible out of the pen, and that could come back to bite them. So we'll see if they close out tonight. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk Yankees and look ahead to Game 3 tonight. Look ahead as well to the Rangers opening night and what's going on with Igor Shesterkin. You're listening to New York State Sports Night, Sports Radio, direct feed for all the sports. We'll be right back in just a minute.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back here to New York State Sports, IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all that is sports. Special episode 59. Of course, we'll have episode 60, if not before Monday on Monday, depending on if Mets-Yankee series. We'll talk maybe if we do another episode, it will be to recap those. Yankees are in KC tonight, a pivotal Game 3, and the Yankees really should be down 0-2 in this series. They have not played well. They've played sloppy. They're not hitting. First two games, they've had a chance to break it open, and they can't get the clutch hit. They're all struggling to do that. Outside, maybe the Wells hit in the 6th inning in Game 1 and Verdugo's game-winning hit in the 7th in Game 1. There's not much there. They lose Game 2, 4-2. Carlos Rodon gives up 4 runs in the 4th inning. He was dominant to start, and then the adrenaline just wore off, and that's a bad look for Rodon, who needed a big start to kind of get Yankee fans off his back, in a sense. And he had a decent season, 16 wins. But you tell me if this goes back to Yankee Stadium for a Game 5, do you trust Carlos Rodon? Because I don't. Especially against Cole Reagans. The Yankees didn't get a dominant Cole Reagans. Reagans only went 4 innings. And they had nothing to show for it. They do not hit lefties well. And it got me kind of mad what Jazz Chisholm said after the game. Jazz Chisholm did have the home run the 9th off Lucas Ursag to cut the deficit to 4-2, but he said after the game that the Royals were lucky to win, and he still expects the Yankees to win this series. The latter part I like, but why you call another team lucky? Take care of your own business. This is a Yankee team that really, at times, has not shown an accountability, defensive mistakes, base running mistakes, over and over. And that's a reflection of the manager, who doesn't call things out publicly, who doesn't do these things. And the pressure is on Aaron Boone. If the Yankees lose this series, I don't think Aaron Boone is the manager next year. I mean, the path, as we've talked about, is perfect for them. All they have to do is get through the AL Central, go to the World Series. And they put themselves in a tough position, kind of like 2 years ago. They played a Cleveland team that's pesky, wins with going station to station, creates runs on the bases, and they had to go 5 games. I can see us easily going 5 games because Kansas City is not going to roll. That crowd is going to be crazy in Kansas City tonight for Game 3. And the pitching matchup tonight, 7:08 on TBS. Clark Schmidt for the Yankees, Seth Lugo for the Royals. Lugo has started twice against the Yankees this year. Of course, former Met, 1-1 with a 2.57 ERA. And he has been, I don't think he's been the ace of KC. I think it's Reagan's, but Lugo's pretty close. In his last 6 starts, 32 strikeouts, just 5 walks. So he shows really good control. So if you're the Yankees, I'm not trying to have these high pitch counts and trying to work the count in order to get people on. I got to go up there aggressive. I got to go up there looking for my pitch. I'm going to look and attack, especially early. If you have a chance to drive in runs, you have to drive in runs because you can't let Lugo settle in. And Aaron Judge, the problem for him is the Royals have been a bad matchup. Judge is 0 for 8 with 3 strikeouts against Lugo. Most of the Royals pitchers have good numbers against Judge, but he's got to deliver. He has to. Because if he has another bad couple games and the Yankees lose this series, you're getting to Aaron Judge and Alex Rodriguez pre-2009 territory. As a guy that has great numbers in the regular season, puts up good results, but can't get it done. I know he's got 13 postseason home runs, but Yankee fans, it's a what have you done for me lately kind of vibe. And he's not the biggest issue, I think. Right now, you look at this Yankee team, and to me, if I had to make a change, like it's not even first base. John Birdie did good at first base the other night for a guy who never played it before outside of spring training. I mean, he had a great play to double up Melendez in the 6th. I don't know if he'll be in the lineup tonight. I could see Cabrera still being in there. But if there was a lineup change I would make, and I don't think they would do this because the Yankees are not a fan of drawing extra attention than they have to, I would start Jason Dominguez at DH and bench Giancarlo Stanton. And it's not that I don't think Stanton can get the job done. We've seen Stanton get it done in the playoffs before. We've seen him hit big home runs. But the problem is the bat keeps finding him. More importantly, his speed can't find him. He can't run. And I'm tired of hearing Bob Costas talk about in the broadcast that Stanton can't run. Every Yankee fan knows that. You saw it in Game 1. There was a double by Cabrera that anybody scores except Stanton from first base. You saw the 8th inning where Witt made the great play for the double play. Anybody but Stanton beats that out. But the Yankees have told Stanton not to really push it out of the box. He gets hurt. But that's going to be the thing. And to me, it's if you're not going to play Jason Dominguez, who hasn't seen the field in these 2 games, what are you playing him? For a team that only said, like, we're going to call him up to play him. They haven't. And I'm not saying he's never been in the playoff stage before. I'm not trying to put the savior expectation on Dominguez because I think that's unfair, but I'd rather have Stanton in a big spot pinch hitting, but he's not a good pinch hitter. So there's really no perfect solution. And Verdugo has kind of quieted the whole start Dominguez in left field. Defensively, Dominguez isn't that great anyway. Verdugo has been the better defender. But it's just the mixed messaging that I think the Yankees have done. But let's look at the pitching matchup. Let's look at Clark Schmidt, who I think is the right choice here. They didn't use him out of the pen. They used every other pitcher except Luis Gil in the first 2 games. So I think you'll see Gil in the middle innings if Schmidt struggles because Garrett Cole is looming in Game 4. That's why I think tonight's pivotal. If the Yankees win, I think Cole closes it out in 4 because Cole's not going to pitch that bad again, especially at normal rest. But you look at Schmidt this year. I know he's only had 8 starts at home and 8 starts on the road, but here's the interesting split. Clark Schmidt away from Yankee Stadium this year has a 1.39 ERA. At home, it's 4.5. And you got a guy yesterday who said that he doesn't really he's excited to pitch in the postseason. We've seen him pitch in different roles out of the bullpen. We've seen him have these kind of experiences. And he's a guy that you kind of know what you're going to get. You may not get 7 dominant innings, but you'll get 5 really good innings from Schmidt. You rarely ever see him kind of get flustered and have that clunker. I don't think you're going to get a clunker tonight, especially the Royals fans are probably asking the same question that the Yankee fan is asking. Judge hasn't gotten going, but on the Royals side, Bobby Witt's 0 for 10. Can the Yankee pitching staff continue to shut down Witt and Pasquantino? If that continues, they'll win this series. If Bobby Witt gets hot, they could be in trouble. So I would hope both New York teams win today. If you gave me which one I'm more confident in, it's probably the Mets. Until I see the Yankees get these clutch hits, I can't be confident they're going to find a way to do them. And I know Boone talks about we're going to get our chances. We'll capitalize on them, but I haven't seen it. And that's a big thing. So the last topic I want to dive into, Rangers are in action tonight. Now, beginning their 99th season. They're in Pittsburgh against the Penguins. And the big story yesterday was Kevin Weeks tweeting out that Igor Shesterkin had an 8-year, $88 million offer from the Rangers in the final year of his contract and turned it down. Would have made him the highest paid goalie in the NHL. We saw Jeremy Swayman just got a big deal from the Bruins. Peter Laviolette talked about it this morning. He said, I think Igor's focused on hockey. I don't really get into that stuff and what's written. We've got a group that came out here to play a game today, and that's what we're focusing on. Look, Igor's taking the judge approach. He's betting on himself. Because if he goes out there and has another great year, wins the Stanley Cup, wins the Conn Smythe, he's going to get a ton of money, and maybe more than the $88 million. But at the same time, you look at this Ranger team, and the cap money isn't exactly out there for this team. Remember, this is probably the last time this core is really going to be intact because they have to make decisions with Igor's contract and Keandre Miller's contract and Lafreniere's contract. And they're still paying Kreider big bucks, the Zibanejad big bucks, Panarin big bucks. So is it a blessing in disguise that this offer was turned down? I don't think so. I think you want to build the next group of Rangers around Igor. But if he's going to turn that down, we'll see. I think the fact that they've even reached that point in the negotiation, I think if they keep the negotiation going through the regular season, everything will be okay. I can't see him not being a Ranger, but if you can't get talks going, do you try to trade him if things go south in the season and see what you can get for him, which might not be much? Maybe you find a team desperate for a goaltender, but that's at the worst case scenario. I don't think that will happen. They do have Jonathan Quick, who is an option, but again, he's a veteran. I think Igor, to me, has to be the guy, and I think the Rangers know that, and they'll find a way. The other big news before we wrap up, the Islanders, Patrick Waugh saying earlier today that Semyon Varlamov is going to start in net tomorrow against the Utah Hockey Club. Ilya Sorokin, of course, some offseason injury issues. So if Varlamov against Utah beat Chicago last night in convincing fashion in their home opener. So Islanders will see how they respond in their home opener. Rangers will play Utah in their home opener on Saturday, which should be fun. And again, Robert Saleh, I blame the Jets front office. I blame the Jet ownership for this. Saleh did not have a good decision, a good coaching tenure here. I mean, we're not going to say he was great, but no coach deserves, after this 5 years, losing their job. I think Saleh didn't think to lose his job just yet, especially when he's trying to fix an offense, and Aaron Rodgers won't allow him to fix. So Aaron Rodgers got what he necessarily wanted. Now he's got to do something with it. See if he can. Big playoff night in New York. Mets look for the closeout against the Phillies. Yankees try to take a 2-1 series lead. If they get it, they have their ace here at Cole, and there will be a winner move-on scenario. Of course, all 4 series are in action today in baseball, which is great. I think the teams in all 4 ballparks will be good, especially in America. Tigers against the Guardians, and in Petco as the Padres try to close out the Dodgers for the 2nd straight year. And of course, hockey tonight, the Rangers on TNT against the Penguins. Kicking off what is a very important year for this franchise as they try to finally get back to the Stanley Cup and win the Stanley Cup with the last really run from this core of players. It should be a fun one. It's always fun when Sidney Crosby faces the Rangers with memories of playoff games past. Does that really change? We will see. When you get that on the Yankees on CBS, the Mets on FS1, the Rangers on TNT, and then of course tomorrow, the Liberty on Game 1 of the WNBA Finals against Minnesota. And you'll have Yankees Game 4 tomorrow. So there's so much New York and Islanders in action. Devils will be in action for Maple Leafs. It's fun in New York and October in New Jersey. So, all was your night sports radio. This is okay, saying enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the sports tonight. And if I don't see you back here this week, I will definitely see you Monday. But we'll see if we can get a show in after the Mets and Yankees series are over and look ahead to either NLCS or a post-mortems on seasons. We will do that. Until then,